Hello, everyone. I'm Sean Prasad. I'm the director of the Center for Holistic Healthcare and Education. We're an integrative medicine clinic and research center. We offer a range of natural therapies to support healing. As a research center, we work with a lot of cases that haven't responded well to conventional therapies or even sometimes other forms of natural therapy. So if you're struggling with your health or any particular issue, I really encourage you to contact us, set up a discovery call, see how we can maybe offer a different approach or a different outlook on your case, and take it from there. Today, I'm welcoming Leah. Okay, as of January 1st, she's been part of our team, which is really exciting for us to have her on board. She's a functional nutritionist. She specializes in the areas of weight loss, fertility, and postpartum. She does have a wide knowledge base on a host of other issues, but these are some of her specialty areas. So, Leah, can you talk to us a little bit about how these areas became part of your specialty, and tell us a little bit more about why you became a nutritionist and all that type of thing?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first off, thank you. I'm really excited about working with you guys now. And yeah, I am very passionate about nutrition. I got into it after I had my first daughter because I experienced a lot of postpartum issues, postpartum depression, and skin issues, digestive issues, just kind of mood in general. And I knew that there was another way that it could be done. And it kind of led me down the path of looking at what I'm eating, what I'm putting in my body, some different practices that I'm doing, some different mindset things that are going on. So I started to practice holistic nutrition, and I was hooked after that. I just learned the importance of food and proper nutrition and getting the right nutrients and seeing how that could affect every single facet of my life and the life of others too. So I soon after that got pregnant with my second, and I knew that I wanted to do postpartum differently. I knew I wanted to enjoy my baby, which I didn't really get a chance to do the first time because I was so bombarded with these other conditions. And so I really planned, I made sure that I was getting the right kind of supplemental support leading up to it. I bought a deep freezer and I just filled it with tons of really nutritious meals that would be quick because I knew that I wouldn't be cooking when I had a toddler and a new baby. So just trying to set myself up for success. And the experience was very different. So I had my baby and I could enjoy it. I had the nutrients that I needed. I was able to plan a little bit better, just knowing the importance of sleep and just trying to prioritize that and seeing kind of how that foundation could really make or break my experiences. I realized in kind of with my breast milk production, like I was making more milk because I was a lot healthier, I was a lot happier. My body was getting what it needed in terms of just hydration and food. So yeah, so it was a great experience. And then when I had my second, I went back to school because I wanted to learn more. So I did a functional nutrition certificate. And yeah, ever since then, I've started my own practice and working individually with clients. And I'm very passionate about helping women when it comes to, balancing hormones, trying to get pregnant, and then maybe postpartum, potentially they're trying to lose weight and what they were doing before just isn't working anymore. So yeah, that's kind of what I specialize in and what really brings my passion to the table.
Yeah, amazing. And I find that such a common experience for practitioners in our field in particular. Often it's because we went through that struggle. So that was kind of like the foundation of our inspiration to kind of get into the field and help other people down that path.
Definitely.
And so that they don't make the same mistakes and have to struggle in the same way. So
Yeah.
it's wonderful. It's a wonderful kind of story and stuff. And I'm glad that you've kind of took that struggle and turned it around and got, learned as much as you could and figured it out. And, now you're using that knowledge to help other people. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. It feels very rewarding, that's for sure.
Yeah, amazing. And so let's dive right into it. I know for a lot of people that we work with and stuff, people that come to our clinic, weight loss is one of the big topics. It's one of their big concerns. It's one of the reasons like I brought you on board, with the team and stuff because of your expertise in this area and how you can kind of help out and support our clients, with this kind of big issue. So I thought we could talk about it in a bit more depth, discuss a little bit about, why people struggle with weight loss and stuff, and, how we do things differently, at our clinic and stuff, and, how you approach it. So, on that note, like in your practice, for instance, what do you feel is kind of like the biggest motivating factor for people when they say, hey, I want to lose weight? Is it more or less, because they want to, it's like a body image thing, or is it because like they're really concerned about their health and they want to feel better? What do you see the most?
Most of the time, unfortunately, it's because they just want to be skinnier. They want to look different. They have this image of how they should be, and that's kind of bringing them to me. Maybe they're comparing themselves with others, or they're looking at magazines, and I find kind of our era of the like skinny is beautiful. A lot of women kind of in my age believe that, and it's sad, but I try to use that to fuel the knowledge of kind of teaching them how it isn't just about the weight. Because so many times what comes hand in hand with needing to lose weight is, maybe their hormones are imbalanced and they have terrible PMS. Maybe they can't get pregnant. Maybe they have skin issues. Maybe they have really bad IBS or digestive issues. And so once we start working on kind of the weight loss, all of these other things seem to fall away. And then they start noticing, I'm feeling better. This, like, I wasn't expecting this to be cleared up, and it is. So I find that it can be almost a good gateway into health and nutrition, and that's kind of how I'm using it, instead of perpetuating that like you must lose weight to look good, because I don't believe that at all. I do feel that you can feel better if you get rid of some of that excess weight. And when we are, like I said, addressing it, there are so many other things in the body that are happening as well. It's all connected. So yeah, I feel blessed that I can work with these people. And it wasn't really my main focus at the beginning, but like I said, so many people come to me as that being their number one priority. Their number one health goal is weight loss.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was interesting. I had a couple of cases recently where they came and they want to talk weight loss and stuff like that. But like, and it wasn't even so much for them like a body image thing. Like for them, it was actually, and like I said, I've seen that a lot too, where for them it's like, hey, I just want a certain body type or something. But these ones, they were very sincere. Like they're like, I really feel horrible. I want to feel better and stuff. But then what caught my attention is like, they said, I need you to support me because I'm going to be going through bariatric surgery. And I want you to kind of, just support me kind of after and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I said, whoa, hold on. Let's pump the brakes for a second. And let's say, you want the support after. What about before? Like what led you to go down the surgical route and stuff? And they're like, oh, well, my doctor said, it's effective and whatever. And I was like, okay. I was like, what have you tried so far? They're like, well, nothing really. I mean, the doctor just, said this was an effective thing to do. So it's, that was like literally kind of like their first step to weight loss was literally the surgical approach.
Oh, wow.
And so, and what really got me there, well, a couple of things got me on that one, because I was like, well, I mean, that's really should be the last resort, if anything. And in their quest to kind of feel better and going to the doctor and trying to, get advice on this, like that was the road they were led on before trying diet and exercise and lifestyle changes and all that kind of stuff. But what also got my attention is that there was this kind of sense of, if I do this surgery, my other symptoms will go away. Like I'll feel better symptomatically with all these other issues, right? Because there was this like, this sense that if I shed the weight, I'll automatically feel better with
Feel
everything.
better.
I'll get my energy back, and
Yeah.
I won't have this pain in my body, and
Yeah.
all these types of things. So yeah, I mean, obviously that was like a concerning kind of thing.
Yeah.
And can you like talk on that front? And it doesn't even have to be to that extent, but can you talk a little bit about how weight loss doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be healthier, because there's different approaches to weight loss,
Yes.
like there's this surgical
Yeah.
approach, there's these extreme dietary approaches to shed weight quickly. There's these extensive fasting programs, like where you just don't eat to shed weight quickly and stuff like that. But can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about, like, does weight loss automatically mean you're going to be healthier and resolve all these health issues and feel better? Or is there
Yeah.
more to the story there?
Yeah, good question. So I just spoke with a client yesterday, actually, who is starting to work with me on one of the programs, the nutrition programs that I offer called Metabolic Balance. And she said, I tried every diet. I even a few years ago went to a weight loss clinic and spent thousands of dollars on pills and shakes and proprietary foods. And I lost a lot of weight. But then, I ran out of money and I couldn't pay for these pills anymore. And I gained back even more. And it's crash dieting is so popular, and people see those before and after photos of lost 50 pounds in, 5 weeks or whatever, like really extreme. And that can be really harmful for the body. Like, first of all, toxins are stored in our fat. So when we're liberating all of that fat so quickly, if we're not supporting kind of the detox pathways and detoxification, then that can actually be really problematic for your health. So it needs to be done in a sustainable way. If it's not sustainable, and if it's just like this diet that, maybe it's cutting calories and you're hungry every day while you're doing that diet, great, you lose the weight. But is that sustainable to eat 1,500 calories every day? Is that good for your health? Most of the time, your hormones, if you are of reproductive age and a female, your hormones will be affected by that if it's not getting the building blocks that it needs. If you're cutting out fat, that can be really problematic for health as well. So yeah, it's definitely not just about the weight.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I love, like, your way of thinking about it. Like, first of all, if you're going to be losing weight, you have to be thinking about other things like your detox pathways and making sure those are open, so that you don't run into trouble and you don't feel worse, as your body is shedding fat and,
sure.
you're releasing toxins back into the system and stuff like that. And also just the consideration that at the end of the day, you have to nourish yourself. You can't create a program where you're kind of going into calorie restriction and things like that, and you're starting to create deficiencies and things, and because you're like symptomatically, you're going to end up feeling worse off. You might lose the weight, but you're going to end up feeling worse off. It'll be very hard to manage. You'll probably end up struggling with cravings and all sorts of things, and it's going to be a very difficult road. So I think part of our approach that makes us a little bit different, is that we care, first of all, making sure that your health is of primary focus. We want to make sure that we're getting to the root of the weight loss issue, so that we can build you up in a healthy way while you're losing the weight. On that note, what do you think are some of the top mistakes that people are making when they approach weight loss for the first time, or they approach diets for the first time and stuff like that? So what are some of those kind of top mistakes? What makes it so difficult? Why are so many people struggling with this?
So I think a big one is that people just are not eating enough. They think that restricting their calories, because everyone has heard calories in versus calories out. So if more calories are coming in than are going out, then you're going to gain weight. And there's just so much more to it. So if you're not eating enough calories, then likely you're hungry. So like I said, maybe you can white knuckle through calorie restriction for a couple months. But it's just not sustainable, because your body runs everything, and every symptom that you have is your body just trying to give you a message. It's trying to talk to you. And so If you're not getting enough calories, that also means you're not getting enough nutrients, you're not getting enough protein, enough fat. So things can really kind of backfire if you do that. And I see that as a really common misconception. It's just, cutting calories, just calorie restriction. So that's a big one. And then also not learning the habits. So it needs to be, you need to be building on these habits so that it is sustainable. So it's something that you can do for the rest of your life. It doesn't need to be this quick fix. It can be like slowly adding in different habits that will help you, like, instead of choosing McDonald's on your way home from dinner, then or on your way home to dinner because you're so hungry because you maybe didn't plan ahead, maybe you didn't prepare, as opposed to if you meal prep and you have that dinner ready or you have it in your car with you to eat before you drive home. So just trying to plan in those habits, I think, is the big key factor there.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you completely. I think one of the things that I always try and explain to people, because I think, like you said, one of the most popular things is the whole calorie restriction, calories and stuff like that. And sometimes people are surprised when, I tell them, hey, that low calorie food that you're eating and stuff, which is usually a processed food. There's a lot of marketing around it, and people think it's healthy because of all the marketing on the packaging and, all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a processed food and it's loaded with bad ingredients, but it's low calorie. So they think that it's supporting the journey, and I always try and explain to them, like, it's not like the number itself, isn't what's most important. It's like, what about the quality of those calories, right? And there's a big difference between, consuming 100 calories from a processed packaged food of some sort versus getting it from whole foods. And that's such an important thing for people to understand when they're kind of working on their weight loss and stuff, is the quality of food, not just the numbers, not just a numbers game or a special mathematical formula that's going to kind of solve everything. We got to be thinking about the quality and the nutrient density of the foods that we're eating. So kind of, talking about trends and stuff like that, the calorie restriction being one of the big ones. What are your thoughts with things like fasting or eliminating entire food groups like carbs, for instance, which gets a lot of, flack, for weight gain, and even fruits and stuff like that are often blamed for causing weight because there's sugar in fruit, and, people equate the sugar in fruit as the same as the sugar in a processed food or something like that. So what are your thoughts on some of those other kind of trends that are pretty popular right now?
Yeah, I don't love any of them. I just find when there is kind of that extreme trend, like there are probably people who have success stories with it if they have certain health concerns. I feel like starting with fasting, like intermittent fasting, I think it definitely has a place, and there's some great research backing it up. But where the research kind of lacks right now is how that affects women who still have their period, women of kind of menstruating age. Once again, their hormones, it can really affect their hormones. If you are intermittent fasting, you likely aren't getting as much food because you have a smaller eating window. If people want to kind of like dabble in intermittent fasting, I say just do a 12-hour fast, finish dinner by 7 p.m. and then you don't eat again until 7 a.m. That's pretty reasonable. You're still having 3 square meals a day. You're still getting enough protein, fat, and fiber in with those meals. So yeah, I definitely don't recommend it with my clients, especially if they're working on something like fertility or if they're postpartum, like obviously definitely not. And or like the low carb and I'm surprised, just going back to what you were saying about kind of low fat foods. I'm actually really surprised that stuff is still on the market. It blows me away that people buy the low fat, like, that's kind of the 90s. Everyone's afraid of fat and real butter, and they're, having margarine instead. But like so much information has come out since then about how like fats are actually very good for you, the right type of fat, and it's important to get that in your diet. So I guess it is, you're right, just really good marketing on their part.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we need all of the food groups. I think we need carbs, just cutting, we don't need refined carbs. We can cut out all the processed foods and the white breads and the pastas and everything like that, and replace it with kind of more whole food carbs, keeping in the vegetables and the sweet potatoes and the legumes and the beans. And so there's just a bit of replacement that can happen instead of just cutting it out altogether.
Like the healthy swaps kind of thing.
Yeah. I find the swaps are so much easier. Instead of saying like, you can't eat this, instead of eating this, why don't you try this, and just replacing it. And there's so much more success in doing that too. And once again, just coming back to the habits, just creating that habit.
Yeah, 100%. And also like today more than ever, like there's easy alternatives to just about all those favorite kind of unhealthy versions of these foods that people love. There's amazing alternatives available today that even 10 years ago we didn't really have.
It's amazing what's out there. All the gluten-free products and
So, like there's really high quality stuff that are tasty and all that type of thing, So it's really just a matter of learning about it and learning how to make those healthy swaps. And that's something we guide, our clients on,
Absolutely.
So that's also one of the benefits of working, with Lita or myself, we support people through that road. We've done the research, we know the products that are out there. We know all the shortcuts for you, so you don't have to just kind of be left on your own and try to figure it out. Wonderful. And I think the other important point on all these trends, because I know some people are really, they've done their own research. They've kind of studied this a little bit and stuff. And they're like, that intermittent fasting sounds really great. And, there's so many benefits. And my favorite author talks about it. And this celebrity or someone I look up to talks about it or whatever. One of the points I think Leo's trying to get across here is that it's not for everybody. So one of the big principles in holistic nutrition is what we call biochemical individuality. And this term kind of points to the fact that we're all different. Some people thrive on vegetarian diets. Other people, it can cause them a lot of harm. It can completely dysregulate them. Some people, we've seen a lot of, testimonials about people with intermittent fasting where it was like wonderful. It really, really suits them. But for other people, it can be a disaster, and especially in cases like Leah mentioned and stuff with fertility and, women and stuff like that at different periods of their life and everything. It can have a very dysregulating effect on hormones and different things. And again, that's why, working with a professional who can assess your case and figure out what is the best approach for you, because there's not going to be one approach that's good for everybody. Even with weight loss and stuff, like we don't have a one size fits all approach for that. It's very individual. It depends on a lot of factors. Yes, it can be good. These trends can be good in a certain context. But whether or not it's good for you, that's going to depend on a comprehensive assessment of your case and, a lot of factors that go into it.
Absolutely.
And then kind of bridging from that, one of the things that I hear a lot, and it came up just yesterday in a consult call that I had. Talk to me about, do I have to be a vegetarian to lose weight? Do I have to make that transition or become a full vegan or something if I expect to lose weight? Or is there a way of doing this where I can maintain a varied diet, including meats and eggs and fish and, that type of thing?
Okay, so the answer is no. You do not need to cut out animal products to lose weight. I find, if I'm working with people and they feel very strong ethical reasons to be a vegetarian or a vegan, then I'll work with them to see how I can support them based on that. But if you just think that you need to cut out meat because you think it might give you heart disease, or maybe it's not good for maybe your doctor even recommended it. I guess there's a lot of education that needs to go in there and just teach the importance of protein and the building blocks of protein, the amino acids and the essential amino acids that our body can't make on on their own. Like we really do need to be taking these amino acids in. So I think you can definitely lose weight by eating all of the foods, and just making sure that you're getting the right amount of food so that you feel satiated, so that you feel satisfied, and you enjoy what you're eating, because really it comes down to that too. Like you need to enjoy it. So
Yeah, 100%. And that's very good news for a lot of people. I think that's I think a lot of people are gonna be able
yeah,
to hear that. Because
yeah.
for
I
some,
don't like to cut. I don't like to cut stuff out.
yeah, yeah. Well,
You know,
exactly, exactly. Well, we don't want to have extremely restrictive diets because that's not very
definitely.
productive. We want you to have a good relationship with food and stuff. There's just
Yeah,
like a lot of education that has to go into it in terms of what is good and what's not. And
yeah,
because of all the marketing these days, like a lot of people have just lost track of what's healthy and what's not.
yeah,
So it's more or less kind of sorting, that out for people. But
for sure.
like you said, when there's strong ethical or moral reasons behind it, we certainly work with vegetarians and vegans all the time and help
Yeah,
them make the most out of that type of diet. And for some people, it's also just really well suited to their physiology,
mhm,
and they thrive with it. And we're happy to help those people
yeah,
follow types of diets and make the most of it, and be healthy and all those types of things.
yeah,
It's just, the back to the question, it's not a necessity to lose weight. So if it's something where you felt I have to give up meat and fish and eggs and all these things
yeah,
to lose weight, not necessarily.
yeah.
Okay.
Definitely not.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So awesome. Awesome. Very good. So, to kind of wrap up this topic, before we move on to the next one, are there any tips that you have that people could maybe implement right away in a general sense, that can help kind of start build those good habits, towards weight loss? If you had
Yeah,
to give a couple pieces of advice, what would it be?
yeah, for sure. So, my big thing is learning how to balance your blood sugar. I think if you can do that, it can be a game changer with health conditions or with losing weight. So some signs that you might not know what I'm talking about right now. So some signs that your blood sugars might be imbalanced is if you feel really irritable, if you miss meals, like if you get that hangry feeling, hungry and angry, if you are very tired after meals, like you have a big lunch and then you feel like I need to take a nap or I'm not going to make it through, or you find that you need caffeine in the afternoon just to make it through. If you're craving sweets or more carbs after every meal, those are all kind of signs that your blood sugar is dysregulated. So you're on this blood sugar roller coaster. And the good news is that it's not hard to get off the roller coaster. It's pretty simple, actually. There's some tips that I give my clients that are very achievable. It's something that you can start doing right away with your next meal. So some of those tips would be to make sure that you're getting enough protein, first of all. So you want at every meal to get protein, fiber, and fat, and that will help you stay fuller for longer. You also want to not be snacking constantly, unless you're postpartum or you have diabetes. Like, obviously, there are some individual cases that maybe you do need to eat every couple hours. But just the typical person who doesn't have these health concerns should be able to go like 4 to 6 hours without even being hungry. So you want to make sure that you're getting enough protein and fats that keeps you satiated. The analogy that I really like to give here with the difference with proteins, fats, and carbohydrates and how they kind of fuel your body is a fire. So if you picture building a fire, at the very beginning, when you want to get the fire started, you get your little small twigs and you get your newspaper, and then you light the kindling, and the flames will go up. But then soon after, if you don't add any bigger logs on, then it'll just kind of go away and it'll die down. So think of the kindling in the newspaper as the carbs. So that's quick energy for your body, or quick energy for the fire. So what needs to happen is then you need to put on these bigger hardwood dry logs, which we're going to think of those logs as like the fat and the protein, and that will keep the fire burning for longer. So if we're thinking about the fire as our energy levels, that will keep your energy going for longer. So just making sure that you have that fat, protein, and carbs. If you're hungry 2 hours after your meal, assessing, okay, what did I have? Did I just have oatmeal? There's no protein in that. Then yeah, I'm probably going to be hungry. So maybe tomorrow with my oatmeal, I'm going to add in some protein powder or some collagen or maybe some eggs in there as well. So that's one basic tip. Also, making sure that you're not having any naked carbs. So a naked carb is, just carbs on its own. So that could be a fruit, and I'm not bashing fruits at all. Fruits are excellent. Just make sure when you're eating that fruit to also have some fat or protein. So if you have an apple, maybe have a handful of nuts with that, or if you're having a banana, get some nut butter on there if you need that quick snack. And that's also a really good tip that I love to give postpartum moms as well, that we'll get into that after. So yeah, no naked carbs, making sure you're getting the right macronutrients in there, and being able to space out your meals to really let your insulin levels come down, let your digestion happen. That can also be really important. And then my final tip is, after a meal, trying to move your body. So if you're working in an office, maybe you have a call and you can just kind of pace back and forth. If you can actually get outside and go for a walk for even just 5 minutes, that will actually help regulate your blood sugar levels and help with digestion as well. So just adding in these few tips can really get the ball rolling in the right direction.
Amazing. Those are great tips. Amazing advice. So I hope you guys, jot that down in notes. You're going to have a recording of this. If you're watching this, it's probably going to be on YouTube or something. So, go back and listen, take notes, and definitely start implementing these little tips into your life. Try it. They're very simple. What she just shared with you, don't underestimate how powerful they are. Sometimes people think that the solution to a complicated problem has to be like very complicated in nature or something, and what we find clinically is that the solution to really complex problems tends to be very simple. It's these small shifts that make the biggest difference. So if you didn't fully catch all of that, go back, take notes, okay, on those tips that she just shared, and challenge yourself. Implement it. They're very simple tips, right? They don't cost anything. So implement, see how that starts to make a difference. See how that starts to make a difference for you. All right. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thanks so much for sharing your expertise on the weight loss area. That was awesome. I think a lot of people are going to gain value from that and get some aha moments and some new insight. It's a very different conversation about weight loss than what you typically hear. So I hope people got a lot of value out of that. Now let's kind of transition into the world of fertility and then postpartum. We were having a chat earlier before our call about how common it is now to see couples struggling with fertility issues. Can you talk a little bit about why that might be, and first of all, could you talk a bit, what constitutes a fertility issue? Can people say, maybe I have a problem here?
So usually infertility is when a couple is trying to conceive for a year without conceiving. And it's, like Sean said, it's increasingly common in couples. And I mean, I'm sure everybody watching today knows somebody who is struggling or has struggled in the past, or maybe you have. And so the thing with fertility is your reproductive functioning, so your ability to get pregnant again, is actually your body's last priority. Like, there are so many other things happening before it feels safe enough to create life, so there's I believe one big reason why there is so many fertility issues now is toxin overload, and just not being able to kind of clear those toxins. Just the toxins, talking about toxins, I like to kind of break it down into the 4 Ps. So there's the plastics, pollution, pesticides, and personal care products. And if you think about your life and how much you are just introduced to these things, it really does add up. And also stress too. Stress is, we have so much pressure in this day and age to hustle and to work hard and to do it all. And it can be really challenging for your system. You think you've got it, you think you can do it, just have another cup of coffee and just keep going. But really, once again, that's our body kind of giving us signals, like the infertility. It's giving us signals that there is more going on under the hood. So trying to look at, when I work with someone dealing with infertility, trying to look at not only them as the female, but also their partner and every aspect of their life. So I get them to assess their stress levels. So I like to call this their stress bathtub. So if you picture kind of filling up a bathtub with water, the water is coming in through the tap and the drain is plugged. And so all of the water coming in, those are all stressors. So maybe you're not sleeping well, maybe it's work stress, maybe you don't have a great diet and you have maybe an allergy to wheat or gluten and you're eating it constantly. It's bombarding your body. So there's just so many different stressors that come into your life. Maybe it's parenting, maybe it's taking care of your parents. And so eventually this bathtub is going to overflow because the stressors just keep coming in. And if you don't have ways to deal with the stress and to manage that stress, the stress management would be similar to taking the plug off the drain and letting some of that water out so that it doesn't overflow. So just assessing that, because so many times people think they're fine and they don't have a very stressed life. Yet if they start writing down all of the things that cause stress in their life, it really adds up, and they could be there for like a very long time figuring it out. So trying to, yes, maybe take out some of those stressors if they can. Many people can't. You still have to be a parent, you still have to go to your job, you still have to drive through traffic, but teaching different strategies. And once again, there's very simple strategies that you can bring into your everyday that will help you drain some of that water out of the bathtub so that it doesn't overflow, so that it is in this happy, healthy state. So some different practices that I like to work with my clients are just breathing, starting with learning how to breathe. If you can breathe and take 30 seconds out of your day a few different times. Maybe you do it when you're on the toilet, maybe you do it right before a meal. That will actually help you kind of digest your food even more and take in those good nutrients. So yeah, just adding in maybe some meditation. Once again, it doesn't need to be 20 minutes every day. It can be 2 minutes. There's so many apps out there now, and they can help you get into the world of meditation. Trying to add in some exercise, but sometimes exercise can be an added stressor too, depending on kind of if your life is very, very, very stressed all the time and you're adding in heavy exercise regularly, that will be more stress on your adrenals, on your hormones, on your body. So trying to maybe add in some lighter exercise like walking or yoga just for a while to let your system kind of calm down and get from that stressed fight or flight phase to a more relaxed rest and digest kind of mode that you can, when you come out of getting a massage or something and you're like, I feel so relaxed and I can breathe a little deeper and my shoulders come down. So that's kind of the state that we want our bodies to be in as much as possible. That's kind of the parasympathetic or the rest and digest mode. So just trying to look at things that you might enjoy, going out for dinner with friends or going to a concert or listening to music, and just adding more of those into your life, and they can have a bigger impact than you think.
Amazing. Yeah, like stress is paramount with not just fertility, but I mean most things, but in the context of fertility, it's such an overlooked factor. I think for a lot of women in particular, when there's fertility issues, one of the first places they go to is their family doctors or the specialists and the fertility clinics and stuff like that. In my experience, things like stress, the mind-body connection to these things is rarely discussed. It's usually, hormones. It's usually just, let's talk about hormones. Let's talk about how we can, use like medication or synthetic hormones to kind of balance things out. But there's not a lot of discussion in terms of, what caused these hormonal issues in the first place. So For those who are like really interested in sometimes more like the natural approach to dealing with hormonal imbalances and stuff like that, we spoke about stress and the connection to fertility. From a biochemistry perspective, one of the reasons that there's that connection is because that stress is dysregulating hormones. Can we talk about some of the other factors that in our world we look at, when it comes to hormones? Like you spoke about toxicity issues, nutrition, diet, deficiency problems and stuff like that. Can you discuss a little bit the link between hormone imbalances and these nutritional kind of factors, and maybe a tip or so into how people can start moving in the right direction in that sense with their hormones?
Yeah, for sure. So with hormones, they are very much regulated by, like I said, getting the right, like the building blocks of hormones is cholesterol. So first off, making sure that you have the correct building blocks coming in. So you're getting that protein, you're getting your amino acids, you're getting the cholesterol, and that is helping build. You also want there is a very kind of fine balance between kind of the main hormones. If we look at estrogen and progesterone, we want those to be in balance. Many times the estrogen might be a little bit elevated, the progesterone is lower, and other times the estrogen is lower, and those can be causing different issues. So if, for example, your estrogen is elevated, some common issues with that, maybe you have PCOS, or maybe you also have PMS issues. It actually sometimes can be due to detoxification. So we need to get rid of that extra estrogen. And if you're not properly, if your liver and your lungs and your skin is not properly detoxifying and getting rid of that excess estrogen, it just goes right back into your body and is recirculated. So I really like to look at kind of supporting detoxing and the detox pathways. So a very simple thing you can do is just adding way more cruciferous vegetables into your life. So, the broccoli sprouts, cauliflower, cabbages, that type of thing. So really making sure you're getting cruciferous vegetables every day. Broccoli sprouts are a really good bang for your buck because they have quite a bit and it's concentrated. Making sure they're getting foods with antioxidant support as well. So foods that contain vitamins A, E, C, turmeric, you can add in, you can drink green tea. Like there are a lot of antioxidant rich foods, like in fruits and vegetables as well, that really contain those nutrients and vitamins that you need to support the detoxing and also to support the balance there.
Yeah, wonderful. Like that's all super great advice, and this is a conversation about fertility that's probably unfamiliar for people because it's rare that they talk about these details, like the details around toxicity problems and supporting detox and, nutritional balance. Maybe a shocking one in all of this was discussing how important cholesterol is. Cholesterol has such a bad rap, and people spend so much effort and time in their life to avoid cholesterol at all costs.
Totally.
And I'm sure you've seen this too. A lot of times when we're going through people's intakes and stuff, we're dealing with fertility problems. It's not uncommon to see that they have very low fat diets. And that can certainly be a big kind of contributing factor to why they're having so many hormonal issues.
For sure. Yeah. So just adding in those healthy fats, like getting your avocado oil or your avocados, olive oil, coconut oil, like adding in those oils and not being afraid of them either.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's gonna be a big insight for a lot of people. One of those big mistakes, when we're talking about sometimes the big mistakes people make and stuff around nutrition, like that's such a big one, and it could be really stopping you from getting your hormones balanced. Those are the building blocks, right? So that's an amazing kind of again advice that you've shared around these issues, talking about stress, the mind-body connection, and some tips around how you can start working on that to regulate your nervous system. Amazing. I think another thing that's really important here is just sleep. getting
Yes.
enough sleep. What are your thoughts on the connection here between sleep and hormones and how that can affect
Sleep is once again one of those things that you don't really think too much of that can affect your health, but it can absolutely be one of the game changers. So just trying to prioritize your sleep. There's, that your circadian rhythm affects your hormones directly. So trying to get a more balanced circadian rhythm and improve your sleep at night can even just start in the morning, getting up, making sure that you are getting some sun on your face, that will slowly try to bring your cortisol levels up when they're supposed to come up in the morning. And then throughout the afternoon, it's kind of cresting and it's coming down. And then you want your melatonin to kick in. And that's, the sleep hormone. People know they've probably even tried taking melatonin before bed to help them potentially. So you want to make sure that balance is good between the cortisol and you don't have super high cortisol before bed. So one thing that can really bring your cortisol levels up before bed is being on a screen, and the light from your phone or the TV, or even just having your lights on at home can really increase the cortisol levels because it's kind of mimicking what sunlight does. So trying to be off a screen at least an hour before you go to bed, instead of, watching your favorite Netflix show and falling asleep to it. Like, find a good book that you can read and let that be your entertainment, and you will notice a substantial difference. Any night that my family does movie night, I notice I have a harder time falling asleep that night. So it really makes a difference. And also, there can be some supplemental things that you can do, like taking magnesium before bed that kind of helps your body relax. And also setting up some sleep cues. So maybe you have the luxury and the time to have a bath before bed. You can add some Epsom salts in there or some lavender oil. Those will both help promote sleep. Just getting yourself in the mindset and in a state of, okay, now it's time to rest. Like, you're giving your body those messages, and also trying to have a consistent bedtime too is what I like to recommend. Like, people are really, they're on it with their babies and with their kids. Like, this is their bedtime. This is what they can and can't do before bed, but you're not doing it for yourself. And it is very, can be a game changer.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we can't, again, it's one of those things that we can't overlook how important, something that seems simple like sleep is, because it's critical. It's absolutely critical for hormone regulation, the whole deal. And, this is part of what we talk, like we call like the free medicines, to get better, to get on track. We don't always have to spend exorbitant amounts of money and all sorts of things on fancy, protocols or whatever. Are you sleeping? That's a free medicine. Just making sure you're regulating your sleep. Are you getting sun? We spoke about sun, the impact that has on just regulating the circadian rhythm and just the production of vitamin D. And just like, there's more and more research now on the effects of that sunlight and those UV rays and the infrared and this and that, and all of the things that it's regulating on the inside, like hormones and D production and melatonin even, and all sorts of things. So that in itself is critical. It's a free medicine. Stress reduction, taking a bath at night, getting into a routine, all very simple, inexpensive, but very critical things that you need to be able to check off your list to make sure that these are not influencing your state of health. And as part of our approach, we always try and make sure people are doing the basics really well before they take more extreme measures, So 100% again, make sure you're taking notes on this and, try it out. If you haven't checked off the boxes on these different, simple tips, try it out, and see how it makes a difference. Okay, because we know for sure that it's going to change things for you. So, and of course, you might need a little bit more of a comprehensive approach. You may need to work with, via one-on-one, to get to the bottom of more complicated issues. But I'm telling you right now, like, she's going to be drilling these basics in you anyway. So, take the time to get that out of the way and get that down. And then it'll make Leah's job even easier when she works with you, because now she can go deeper, once this stuff is ruled out. So, 100%, very good. Perfect. So Moving on from the fertility topic, let's talk a little bit about postpartum.
Yeah.
Okay, talk to us a little bit about postpartum. What are some of the issues that women face at this stage? What are some of the causes for those issues? And, like, what are your thoughts? And, what are some of, again, the advice that you would give women at this, dealing with this situation?
Yeah, so I like to start this out by just saying that postpartum is the most nutrient demanding time in a woman's life, even more so than when they're pregnant, which a lot of women are really surprised about because when you're pregnant, you're really trying to do it all. You're taking your prenatal vitamins, you're eating the good food, you're taking care of yourself because this baby is growing inside of you and then the baby comes out and so many women just do not focus at all on themselves. And I think a little bit more and more the traction is it's starting and there's more awareness around it now. But the problem with not taking care of yourself, not eating, not prioritizing sleep, not drinking enough water is that you will experience some challenging effects of that, like postpartum mood disorder is also on the rise. So many more women are experiencing that now. And it's very common for women to skip meals. And, like I said, you're focusing a lot on the baby and everyone thinks it's all about the baby. They need to eat every so many hours but you're not focusing on yourself and really, baby needs you to be healthy and able to take care of them. So you really do need to take care of yourself as well. So yeah, women really are typically not eating enough calories and the right type of calories. They're not sleeping enough, which is very obvious because you have a newborn that's up very, regularly throughout the night. Maybe you're lucky and you get that unicorn baby that sleeps the night, but I still haven't met anyone who had that baby. And you're also healing. You're recovering from the birth. You're probably still bleeding if it's newly postpartum. Sometimes that birth was traumatic. You're always lacking sleep. And there's a lot of emotions attached to just, especially if it's your first baby, just, having a human to take care of and being a mother. And there's a lot entering that. So trying to figure out how, first off, they can prioritize sleep. I think it really starts with that. So, if baby is up every couple hours, do you have a partner or a parent or a friend or someone that can help at least sometimes to do a night feed? That's something that I had to do for my second postpartum experience. And it was a game changer because it meant I could have, 4 to 6 hour stretch of sleep every night and sleep, like Sean said, it's so important. It is really the time when your body heals. So you need to get that solid sleep. And making sure that you have enough water as well, especially if you are breastfeeding. So many women are not drinking enough water. So trying to have different tricks in place to drink more water. So something that I like to recommend is you get like a whiteboard marker, so like a quick erase marker, and you'll do, say, I want to drink 6 of these a day. So you do 6 lines, and then every time you finish a glass, you just mark one off or you erase one off, and then okay, I have 5 left because there's so much going on. You can't remember. I only had, 2 glasses or 3 glasses of water that day. So helping yourself out by having these little cues or writing it down on the fridge or whatever that is. And also making sure to maybe give yourself a cue of, okay, every time I sit down to feed baby, whether I'm breastfeeding or bottle feeding, grab a big glass of water for myself as well. Having a nice drinking vessel that you like using, maybe it's a water bottle, maybe it's just a glass or mason jar that you can bring around with you everywhere you go, and just making sure that you get that. And then also there's a lot of nutrients that are needed that are really essential for postpartum. There's a study that has been done about essential fatty acids. And so on the chart, it showed the essential fatty acid intake, so like fish oils of women in North America, and then versus Asia. Obviously, their fatty acids and their fish intake is a lot higher, and they really prioritize that. And then how that relates to dealing with postpartum mood disorder. So in these Asian countries where they're eating way more fish, the rates were a lot lower. And then in our country or North America, where our rates of eating fish, sometimes I talk to clients and they eat fish like once a month. I definitely recommend it 2 or 3 times a week. So if you're not getting that much fish, making sure that maybe you're taking a supplement. And that also does, if you are breastfeeding, that also affects baby and their brain development. So if you're not thinking about yourself, which a lot of postpartum women have a hard time doing, at least think about your baby and trying to get, the proper nutrients for that and for their development. So adding in a good fish oil, making sure mom is taking vitamin D, maybe having a probiotic, that type of thing as well. And then also just trying to plan in some kind of high dense, like big bang for your buck snacks, like having a bunch of hard-boiled eggs made. That can be just a quick thing to grab, having protein balls made, some bone broth. I like recommending like just having cut up veggies and hummus or guacamole, making chia puddings, having some warming foods. Going back to the fish, it can be canned fish. You can have, canned kipper or even tuna every now and then. And, trying to prioritize those fishes with the skin on as well, because that's kind of where the fat is and the smaller fishes. So, so those are just some different recommendations that I like to give my new moms and try to help them kind of prioritize themselves a little bit so that they can actually enjoy their baby. Because I know the difference. I know what it's like to be so overtired and just craving carbs all the time and not having a good time, not enjoying myself, and to actually getting what I need and getting the sleep I need, prioritizing myself, and really truly enjoying that experience with my new baby. So.
Yeah, 100%. And, having gone through it yourself, like you have firsthand knowledge on this. And I think that's such an important thing to emphasize because, this isn't just textbook kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there's a little bit of disconnect between what's in the textbook and what works in, real life and stuff like that. But when someone like Leah has gone through this sort of thing herself, and she's seen firsthand what works versus what doesn't work. There's so much value there, because that's the thing. She's really tuned in to what helps moms dealing with these types of issues, so that you don't have to spend so much time trying to figure it all out on your own and kind of spin in circles and, get lost on whatever kind of things are out there that you don't know whether it really helps or not. And I think just overall, if you've been paying attention throughout all of today, there's a lot of themes that kind of come back, making sure you're well hydrated, making sure you're sleeping, making sure you're well nourished, making sure you're getting enough fats, making sure you're getting enough nutrients, right? Like there's a lot of key things that you'll notice are at the bottom of a lot of different issues, whether it's a stubborn weight loss situation or whether it's fertility problems or postpartum issues. A lot of it has to, comes back down to nutrition and to lifestyle issues and stuff like that, right? So when you begin to address these and take this really seriously and start making, the right adjustments in your life, so much starts to change. So many different issues start to get better and you start to feel good. And, these things that you were struggling with, a lot of this starts to resolve. And with the guidance of a professional, we can really help you get to the bottom of tricky, complicated cases. And I can't emphasize enough, if you're struggling, you don't have to do it on your own. Okay. That especially with things like this, it can be very complex. There's so much to think about. We've studied for years, and not just that, like I said, not just the textbook information, but having the real life experience and working with like hundreds of clients go through these issues. There's a lot of experience that comes with that to help you sort out the nuances with these types of situations and to really figure out what is it that you need. Because of like what we spoke about earlier, that biochemical individuality, there's never a perfect one size fits all approach. And that's why assessment is such an important piece of our work, because it allows us to figure out those little particularities about your case, and those little things that might be really, derailing you. And like we said, it doesn't always have to be a very complicated solution. One of the things that we pride ourselves on and that we make a priority is making sure that whatever recommendation or plan or protocol that we recommend, that it's easy to follow, that it's reasonable, that it's simple, that it's even cost-wise, we want to be as efficient as possible, right? We really believe in solutions that are practical and effective and make a big difference. So with that being said, I'm super grateful that Leah is joining us, and that she's part of the Center for Holistic Healthcare and Education. She's got a wealth of knowledge and experience to share with all of you guys. And like I said, if you are struggling with any health issue, if you're struggling with weight loss, fertility, postpartum, whatever it is, if you need guidance throughout pregnancy or, dealing with other issues that we haven't discussed today, start by giving us a call. We offer free discovery calls where we can discuss your case. You can ask your questions. We can start talking to you a little bit about how we would approach your case differently than maybe you've done in the past. So don't be discouraged if you've already worked with other nutritionists or naturopaths or whatever. We have a bit of a different approach. So give us a call and let us kind of discuss, how we might do things a little bit differently for you and see if it's a good fit. Okay. If you want to learn more about Leah, she has a profile and a bio on our website. Okay, so you can go on our website, thechhe.com. We'll try and include a link in the caption somewhere. But go visit the website, go check out her profile. She's got a couple of interesting videos on her bio page to learn more about her service and her metabolic balance program, which we didn't have time to talk about today, but it's a great program. So there's a little video there that introduces that. If you want to set up a call with Leah, you just have to get in touch with us either by email or by phone, and we'll set that up. She'll be happy to chat with you and start discussing your goals and, start making a plan on how, she can help. So with that being said, thank you for joining us. And if you have any questions also about any of the topics we spoke about today, feel free to send us an email and, we'll get back to you. Otherwise, we hope that you found the information valuable. We hope you learned something new. And we look forward to seeing you at the next webinar. All right. Thank you so much and take care.